So we've completed the suffering contemplations, the impermanence contemplations, and the death contemplations by this point. And of course, you're able to um, focus on either of them or all of them for longer. You can take all of this at your own pace. It's completely up to you. If you feel that a certain thing you can focus on for a couple more days, or you feel a pull towards that, by all means, proceed and continue with it. The class today is going to comprise of two sections. The first is I'm going to touch a little bit on the Guru Yoga and the heavy Vajrayana intro here, and just do some explanation of it. If you want to dive into it more, you can refer to the commentary. Yeah, either the commentary or the Book of the Dead itself. I think some of you are actually doing a Vajrayana program right now. So for you, this particular section makes a lot more sense, but for everyone else that is here just for the general understanding of the Book of the Dead and how it can apply to your life, I'm going to keep this section shorter because it is like Vajrayana initiation, deity, mantra stuff, which, yeah, is important and is part of the cycle. But if that's not a specific system that you're in or that you're even interested in, then just take the Book of the Dead for what it is, and more or less read this part. But I wouldn't say you're required to do these sections. So last time we ended on cultivating the four immeasurables, right? So may all sentient beings be endowed with happiness. You're wishing that all beings be happy. May all beings be free of suffering. May all beings be endowed with joy, sorrow-free joy, and may they all dwell in equanimity. So these are compared with the Brahma Viharas, so the abodes of Brahma refers to the God class of beings, and Vihara means abode. So it's really the abodes or the home, the states that characterize the home dimension of these beings. In the long discourses, or the Digha Nikaya, there's a specific sutta, a specific discourse that talks about one of the former lives of the Buddha, where the lifespan of humans was very long at the time, and I believe the Buddha was a kind of king in this particular incarnation, and he renounces his kingdom or his kingship, and he goes into a retreat. And the talk of the town was, if you do loving kindness for 90 days, or for a rains season, which is essentially 90 days or 120 days, depending on the tradition, and you don't leave this room, you don't leave a single room, and you radiate metta the whole time, that at the end of the season of the retreat period, a Brahma named Sanat Kumara will appear and grant you wishes. So the Buddha wanted to explore this, so he did the loving kindness. Sanat Kumara appeared and then gave him a discourse on these four immeasurables, the Brahma Viharas. And the Buddha asked, what is the pathway to the Brahma realm? What is the pathway to your dimension and your existence? And he explained it was these four: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And then he explained the things which obstruct entry into his existence. And he described them as the stench of avarice, the the stench of hatred, the stench of ill will, the grosser afflictions that we give rise to, or that we can permit or tolerate. Unkindness to other people. Those were the things that block a person from these higher realms. And then the Buddha goes on to explain that he attained that, and that in this particular incarnation, in a way, he had taken it further by uh, freeing himself from afflictions and from the defilements, completely realizing nirvana. So that was a quick little story from the early discourses. So here we're on the let's see what chapter exactly this is. Yeah, the section on the preliminary. So this is page 53 on to 78. And the sections are, oh, we discussed some of it last class, going for outer, inner, and secret refuge, generating bodhicitta, which is the spirit of awakening, the resolve to awaken for yourself and for others, to free yourself and to share that with other people, and free and help them become free in return. The uh, final three contemplations of the preliminary instructions are reciting the 100 syllables to purify sins and obscuration. So that's called the Vajrasattva practice. You visualize yourself as a deity named Vajrasattva, and you do 100-syllable mantra. And this is often a preliminary. It's part of the aspect of Tibetan practice called Nundro, where you do these prostrations and you do a lot of mantras. And the general number to do is 100,000 of just this mantra, and then there's usually two or three more depending on the tradition. So the idea with Nundro, or with any preliminary practice, is that by using the mantra, you enter the dimension of the teaching. You enter. It's like by doing the mantra or by doing the prostrations. It's like the lineage is now gazing upon you, and through the mantra, through this particular 100-syllable mantra, it's considered to be a purification of karma. So the idea is that former actions in previous incarnations, they obstruct us and cause problems for us. So by doing a mantra, or by doing practice and receiving the grace of the lineage, those karmic obscurations are gradually cleared. It's like in a conversation with a person, you're trying to get a point across to them, and for whatever reason, they're just not understanding it. Maybe they can't relate. It's the same idea with receiving Dharma, or seeing the Dharma. A lot of people may be born into Buddhism or born into yoga, but because of their karmic filter, we're not actually able to see the Dharma as Dharma. We may just see it as, oh, that's just what my parents do, or there's not really it's present in your life, but you're not able to actually connect with it. That could be the same way with any set of non-dual teachings. It's present, but you're not really able to connect with it or have it come into your heart. So this mantra is given to people for that. The next section is offering the mandala. So the mandala is the how did this happen? Sorry. The mandala is the dimension of the deity. So this particular text, the idea that it was transmitted, or Padmasambhava received it from the dimension of the masters, the dimension of the Buddhas, which we call Sambhogakaya. And Padmasambhava is actually an emanation of the beings of this dimension appearing in the world to share this cycle and other cycles with humankind. So offering of the mandala is really just the recognition of where this teaching comes from, and then offering homage to that. So I'll read the section of offering mandala, and then we'll move through the Guru Yoga. Once you have begun purifying the obscurations, there is a task of accumulating the two collections of merit and of knowledge for your own benefit and the benefit of others. The welfare of others is accomplished in the realization of the form body. Here it's called Rupakaya, or form embodiment of the Buddha. And it is toward accomplishing that end that one offers the mandala. Om Vajrabhumi Ahum, the basis becomes the powerful golden ground, the basis which is the nature of your mind. Om Vajra Reke Ahum. On the periphery of a surrounding jeweled iron fence, in the center is a supreme king of mountains, majestic in its composition from the 5 kinds of spiritual substances, lovely in shape, beautiful, and delightful to behold. 7 golden mountains are surrounded by 7 concentric seas. In the east is the continent Videha, in the south, Jambuvidya. The west is adorned by Godanaya, and the north is the great Uttarakuru. In the 8 subcontinents of Deha and Videha, Chamara and Apachamara, Sata and Uttamantrina, Kurava and Kurava, the sun and the moon, Rahu and Kalagni, and this bounty of wealth and enjoyment of gods and humans I offer to the precious spiritual mentor and his retinue. Out of compassion, please accept this for the sake of the world. So how this offering is usually done in Tibetan context is there's a torma, or a kind of flower triangular shape that is created and adorned with sweets and sugars and all kinds of things like this. And you visualize what I just described, and you hand it to the teacher out of homage, out of respect, and out of devotion to the lineage. Here's some comments by Gayatri Rinpoche on it. It's important to realize that the physical offering of the mandala, with its base of heaps and grains of rice and so on, is simply the physical support for the actual offering of the mandala. In terms of your visualization, imagine all the objects of your offering, your spiritual mentor, the Buddha refuge, Dharma refuge, and Sangha refuge, as being boundless in nature. Your spiritual mentor, in this case, is Padmasambhava, the source of this particular teaching. Or if you have a guru that you received initiation from in this lineage, that would be the person that you offer this to, or whoever you regard as the spiritual teacher in your heart. To these vast objects of refuge, you bring offerings that are correspondingly as vast as the clouds of offering of Samantabhadra. So this is the primordial Buddha, the everything. So the idea is you imagine the whole universe, and you feel that the whole universe, the whole everything, is transformed into an offering. And you give that to the lineage as a way of offering your heart to the lineage, to the Buddha, the source of awakening. You could see it as the guru principle, the nature of your mind, the Dhamma, which is the teachings, and the Sangha, the retinue of teachers and practitioners in the universe. And then he goes further, he throws some Heart Sutra in here. You make the offering there, that is, as you make the offering, there arises to your mind no intrinsically existent recipient. So you do this in the view of emptiness. No existent recipient of the offering, no intrinsically existent offering, nor do you have the offerer have any intrinsic existence either. So you see this whole offering as the display of emptiness. There's unity, absolute unity and equality between the person doing the offering, the quote person doing the offering, the devotion which is being offered, and the subject which is being offered to, that all things are seen from that lens of everything being the Buddha nature, everything being empty. And then there's further, of course. So if you want to go and read this section, I recommend it. It explains further devotional phrases to these three aspects. The Dharmakaya being the nature of your mind, the nature of everything. The Sambhogakaya being the manifestation of the deities, the manifestation of the guides, the Dharma protectors, those beings outside of time which transmit this knowledge. And the Nirmanakaya, which are the physical teachers, Padmasambhava and others. And actually seeing your body, this body, as the abode of the Pure Lands, seeing the channel as the cardinal, like the back of the navel chakra, the heart chakra, the crown as different Pure Lands. So you're using visualization and using the simulation to collapse the dimension of the deities and the dimension of the teachings into your flesh. Next section that wraps up the preliminary contemplations. Oh, there's two more. I'll read it briefly. Prayer to the lineage. So if you're open to this, you can say it with me internally. Oma Hung. By offering this fine and pleasing mandala, may obstacles not arise on the path to enlightenment. May the intention of the Buddhas of the three times, the past, the present, the future, be realized. And without being confused in the cycle of existence or dwelling in quietism, may beings throughout space transcend to the Dharmakaya Samanta Vajra, the original Lord, to the victor Vajradhara, the nature of the six Buddha families, and to the supreme-minded Vajrasattva, foremost of guides. I pray to the lineage of the victor's contemplation, to the Vidyadhara Garab Dorje, supreme emanated being, to Guru Sri Simha, foremost spiritual son of the victor, to the immortal Padmasambhava, achiever of the Vajra body, to the Dakini Yeshe Sogol, vessel of the secret mantra, I pray to the lineage of the Vidyadhara's knowledge. And there's further supplications to the lineage holders and beings that taught this cycle. A pretty long one. It's about 2 pages. Gayatri Rinpoche, the above is a list of many of the great beings in this lineage. It would take too long to give you a clear idea of the accomplishments of each of those beings. However, you may be able to learn about them from some other translations in English texts, or English translations of texts. And the final point here, from the contemplation of receiving the four empowerments. So generally this specific cycle is given by a lama with initiation. So they have you do a visualization where you imagine Padmasambhava on the crown of the head with Yeshe Sogol, who was his consort and a lineage holder and principal teacher. And you combine this with various seed syllables in the chakras, and you enter the state of non-duality while remaining in these visualizations, while asking for permission or asking for guidance into this knowledge. So this is all here in the Padmasambhava commentary. If you want to read through it and do the visualizations, you're welcome to. It explains how to do it. A final wish is this: glorious, precious, primary spiritual mentor, constantly, inseparably remain in the center of the lotus of my heart and look after me out of your great kindness. Please grant me the siddhis, powers of body, speech, and mind. Glorious spiritual mentor, may we become exactly like your form with your retinue, lifespan, pure realm, and with your supreme excellent signs. So the idea with deity yoga and a lot of tantric practices in general is that you're doing the visualization and the practice to become that which it is you're visualizing, or that which you're supplicating. So it's quite different than the approach of the Abrahamic religions, that the goal of that particular teaching doesn't necessarily imply at all that you become that which you're giving devotion to. But in the tantric models, that's exactly what is being presented, that you are, and that you embody and become that which you're offering and making offerings to. And that ends that. So now we're in the I would argue the most important aspect of this entire cycle. Now that the preliminaries, we've overviewed them and we've done the preliminary contemplations, this introduction to the nature of mind is the reason for this text. Knowing one's mind, overcoming the misperception that your nature is something that lives and dies, or that is born and passes, something that arises and ceases. These particular notions are what are dispelled through the introduction. The idea is to get very clear and to develop conviction in that there's just this. That you're seeing, you're hearing, you're tasting, you're thinking, you're touching. The stream of thoughts, the imagination, memories, every aspect of the field of experience actually is the Dharmakaya, actually is the nature of one's mind. I'll explain it like this, like objects in a dream, they arise and they pass, but the dream itself is never increasing or decreasing. What you see and what you feel changes, but the field of experience is never increasing or decreasing, irrespective of what happens, irrespective of what occurs. Reality isn't coming or going. Even when you fall asleep, it's just amnesia. You just forget the dreamless state or the dream state. But if you do a long retreat, you find that naturally reality is actually uninterrupted. So to come to this understanding, at least to gain an entry into the understanding, to begin to see your nature, is the point of introduction to one's mind. Before this point, there may be no recognition of awareness at all. All of you have been in non-duality for quite some time, so you may already have a direct sense of this, or already live in this understanding and knowledge. In my case, it was not apparent at all until I was exactly 26 years old. In Zen, they say, all at once you discover your original face. So it means that all at once this nature is realized. We can call it Atman, we can call it Dzogchen, we can call it nature of mind, but it's simply this. So this is what's called the profound dharma of the natural liberation, through contemplating the peaceful and wrathful stage of completion instructions on the six bardos. So this is the whole next section of the book. But the chapter title is Natural Liberation of the Foundation. So that's the basis, the nature of mind. Spiritual instructions on the transitional process of living. One moment, everybody. Where is it here? You can take this as a presence pause. There we go. So give rise to a reverent consciousness here. In the commentary, it explains that there are stages to progress through, in the sense of quieting the mind and then gaining insight into the nature of mind. And we'll be going through that. We'll be going through those steps next week. But I want to give the actual, or read the actual transmission, the actual introduction, because many of you have been practicing for a very long time. So it's not like you're beginners. and I'll move through this at a slower pace. Here is contained self-liberation through seeing with naked awareness, this being a direct introduction to the state of intrinsic awareness from the profound teaching of self-liberation in the primordial state of the peaceful and wrathful deities. Homage to the Trikaya and to the deities who represent the inherent luminous clarity of intrinsic awareness. Herein I shall teach self-liberation through seeing with naked awareness, which is a direct introduction to intrinsic awareness from the profound teaching of self-liberation, the primordial state of the peaceful and wrathful deities. Truly, this introduction to your own intrinsic awareness should be contemplated well. Samaya gya gya gya. Imaho, it is the single nature of mind, which encompasses all of samsara and nirvana. Even though its inherent nature has existed from the very beginning, you have not recognized it. Even though its clarity and presence has been uninterrupted, you have not yet encountered its face. Even though its arising has nowhere been obstructed, still you have not comprehended it. Therefore, this direct introduction is for the purpose of bringing you to self-recognition. Everything that is expounded by the victorious ones, the Buddhas of the three times, and the 84,000 gateways to the Dharma, is incomprehensible unless you understand intrinsic awareness. Indeed, the victorious ones do not teach anything other than the understanding of this, even though there exists unlimited numbers of scriptures equal in their extent to the sky. Yet with respect to the real meaning, there are three statements that will introduce you to your own intrinsic awareness. This introduction to the manifest primordial state of the victorious one is disclosed by the following method for entering into the practice where there exists no antecedent or subsequent practices. Oh, my fortunate sons, listen. Even though that which is usually called, quote, mind, is widely esteemed and much discussed, still it is not understood, or it is wrongly understood, or it is understood in a one-side manner only. Since it is not correctly understood just as it is in itself, there come into existence inconceivable numbers of philosophical ideas and assertions. Furthermore, since ordinary individuals do not understand it, they do not recognize their own nature, and so they continue to wander among the six realms of rebirth, within the three worlds, which are the formless, the form, and the desire realm, and thus experience suffering. Therefore, not understanding your own mind is a very grievous fault. Even though the Shravakas and the Prateka Buddhas, so those are the teachers of Theravada Buddhism, Prateka Buddhas are solitary Buddhas, wish to understand it in terms of the no-self doctrine, still they do not understand it as it is in itself. Also, there exist others who, being attached to their own personal ideas and interpretations, become fettered by these attachments and so do not perceive the clear light. Clear light has twofold meaning in that there is actual vast luminosity that dawns at the moment of death, but clear light is also another word for your nature, the nature of your mind. It's clear in the sense that it has no specific appearance, and it's considered the light in that it is the light of Dharma. It is the refuge. In terms of your own mind, as in the case with everyone, samsara and nirvana are inseparable. Nonetheless, because you persist in accepting and enduring attachments and aversions, you will continue to wander in samsara. Therefore, your active dharmas and your inactive ones both should be abandoned. However, since self-liberation through seeing nakedly by means of intrinsic awareness is here revealed to you, you should understand that all dharmas can be perfected and completed in the great total self-liberation. And therefore, whatever practice you do can be brought to perfection within the great perfection. As for this sparkling awareness, which is called mind, even though one says that it exists, it does not actually exist. On the other hand, as a source, it is the origin of the diversity of all the bliss of nirvana and all the sorrow of samsara. And as if for it being something desirable, it is cherished alike in all vehicles. With respect to its having a name, the various names that are applied to it are inconceivable in their numbers. Some call it the nature of mind or mind itself. Some call it by the name Atman or, quote, the self, capital S. The Shravakas call it the doctrine of Anatman or the absence of a self. Another school of philosophy calls it Chitta or the mind with a capital M. Some call it the perfection of wisdom. Some call it the embryo of Buddhahood, the Tathagata Garbha. Some call it by the name Mahamudra or the great symbol. Some call it by the name the unique sphere. Some call it by the name Dharma Dhatu or the dimension of reality. Some call it by the name Alaya or the basis of everything. And some simply call it by the name ordinary awareness. Now, when you're introduced to your own intrinsic awareness, the method for entering it involves 3 considerations. Thoughts in the past are clear and empty and leave no traces behind. Thoughts in the future are fresh and unconditioned by anything. And in the present moment, when your mind remains in its own condition without constructing anything, awareness at that moment in itself is quite ordinary. And when you look into yourself in this way nakedly, without discursive thinking, which means thinking this, entertaining that, since there is only this pure observing, there will be found a lucid clarity without anyone being there who is the observer. Only a naked manifest awareness is present. This awareness is empty and immaculately pure, not being created by anything whatsoever. So the point here is that your mind, which is reality, the case being made is that it doesn't have a beginning or end. Bodies may appear, in one life you're this, in one life you're that, in one dimension or place in time. You may be a woman or a man or any kind of being. None of those beings are divorced from reality. Reality is their base. Reality is another word for the nature of mind. When you look at your awareness, when you look at this, you notice there's a clarity, there's a presence. This clarity doesn't come from anywhere. It wasn't made. And because it's not made, it's unborn. You look into your mind and you don't find anything in particular. Yet everything that you touch is not apart from your mind. You look inside and it's reality. But reality is not anything in particular. You look outside, quote, outside, and no objects of perception can be separated from this. This awareness is empty and immaculately pure, not being created by anything whatsoever. It is authentic and unadulterated, without any duality of clarity and emptiness. It is not permanent, and yet it is not created by anything. So to say that it's permanent in the Buddhist context means you have to be able to find it as a thing, which can get the attribution of permanency. But we can't. However, it is not a mere nothingness or something annihilated, because it is lucid and present. Every aspect of experience is lucid, is present. It does not exist as a single entity because it is present and clear in terms of being many. You can't separate your nature from anything that is seen, touched, heard, felt, tasted, or thought. On the other hand, it is not created as a multiplicity of things because it is inseparable and of a single flavor. This inherent self-awareness does not derive from anything outside of itself. This is the real introduction to the actual condition of things. Where does reality come from? Where does it go to? Do those statements even make sense? Does reality arise? Does reality pass? That's why they say your nature is unborn. This lucid clarity is actually ever present when you just relax and notice. You see that the unfabricated state of your mind is the inseparability of awareness and emptiness. Awareness being lucidity is present, emptiness being the fact that you can't find it as anything in particular. When you close your eyes and there's nothingness, there's just this black screen. That's reality as much as when you open your eyes and you're taking in the vista of the hills or having your coffee. When you don't do anything with your mind, it's possible for this clarity, this lucidity to become recognized. The meaning of ignorance is that this lucidity, this clarity becomes obscured, it becomes forgotten. You let go, you don't do anything, boom. Presence, lucidity. Awareness is supplanted by unawareness. Ignorance, forgetting arises. But in the unfabricated, this is the natural state. Awareness, emptiness. Within this intrinsic awareness, your nature, the Trikaya, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya are inseparable and fully present as one. Since it is empty and not created anywhere whatsoever, it is the Dharmakaya, the Dharma body. Since its luminous clarity represents the inner transparent radiance of emptiness, it is the Sambhogakaya, the reward body. Since its arising is nowhere obstructed or interrupted, it is the Nirmanakaya. The word arising there means presence. The presence of reality is nowhere obstructed or interrupted. These three, the Trikaya, being complete and fully present as one, are its very essence. When you're introduced in this way through this exceedingly powerful method for entering into practice, you discover directly that your own immediate self-awareness is just this and nothing else. And that it has an inherent self-clarity which is entirely unfabricated. This reality body, emptiness, awareness, your nature was not made. The presence of reality. Reality is unfabricated. Your nature has always been unfabricated. As the Vedantists would put it, you have always been that in capitals. There has only always been this in capitals. How can you then speak of not understanding the nature of mind? Moreover, since you are meditating without finding anything there to meditate upon, how can you say that your meditation does not go well? Since your own manifest intrinsic awareness is just this, how can you say that you cannot find your own mind? How can you say that you cannot find your own mind when your own mind is the only reality? Not your own thoughts, not your own conceptions, not your own what you think you are, what you think that means. But because the presence of reality is ever immediate, uninterrupted, how can you say that your meditation doesn't go well? Since your own manifest intrinsic awareness is just this, how can you say that you cannot find your own mind? The mind is just that which is thinking. And yet, although you have searched for the thinker, how can you say that you do not find him? With respect to this, nowhere does there exist the one who is the cause of mental activity. And yet, since activity exists, how can you say that such activity does not arise? Since merely allowing thoughts to settle into their own condition without trying to modify them in any way is sufficient, how can you say that you're not able to remain in a calm state? Since allowing thoughts to be just as they are without trying to do anything about them is sufficient, how can you say that you are not able to do anything with regard to them? Since clarity, awareness, and emptiness are inseparable and are spontaneously self-perfected, how can you say that nothing is accomplished by your practice? The reason they say this introduction, there are no antecedent or precedent practices, it means there's nothing that comes before this, there's nothing that comes after this, is because there's just this. What was before was reality, what is now is reality, what is after is reality. So that being the case, how can you say that nothing is accomplished by your practice? When the truth is that practice is reality. Since intrinsic awareness is self-originated and spontaneously self-perfected without any antecedent causes or conditions, how can you say that you're not able to accomplish anything by your efforts? Since the arising of discursive thoughts and their being liberated occur spontaneously, how can you say that you're unable to apply an antidote? Since your own immediate awareness is just this, how can you say that you do not know anything with regard to it? How can you say you don't know your mind? It's the only thing you know. When ideas and conceptions are released, when language is released, it's just this. You can feel your body now. The presence of the body. Just this presence alone is, quote unquote, the calm state. You can attend to the stream of mental pictures. Every image is present, immediate, and unconcealed. It is exactly what it is. And cannot be separated from your nature, essentially, is your nature. In dreams, the dreamscape has manifold, countless appearances. You've had thousands and thousands of dreams your whole life. Those objects were never anything other than the dream. Those situations were never anything other than the dream. In the waking state, the conditions and appearances were never anything other than reality, than this nature, manifesting as this condition or as that person or as this situation or as that situation. Dogen says Buddha nature is merely just life and death. It means that the nature appears as life and death. It appears as the display of what is seen, what is felt, what is heard. And that ultimately is its true condition. The mountains, the rivers, the stars, the sky, and the sun, and the moon are none other than the Buddha. Just means they're none other than reality, none other than this nature. It is certain that the nature of mind is empty and without any foundation whatsoever. It means you cannot find reality. Yet all things are reality. Your own mind is insubstantial like the empty sky. You should look at your own mind to see whether it is like that or not. Being without any view that decisively decides that it is empty. Meaning, don't look at a chair and have the thought this chair is empty. Don't generate that imputation. Don't decide that that reality is Buddha. It's not something you need to affirm. Being without any view that decisively decides that it is empty, it is certain that self-originated primal awareness has been clear and luminous from the very beginning, like the heart of the sun, which is itself self-originated. You should look at your own mind and see whether it is like this or not. It is certain that this primal awareness, or gnosis, knowledge, which is one's intrinsic awareness, is unceasing. Like the main channel of a river that flows unceasingly, you should look at your own mind to see whether it is like that or not. See how, aside from the arising of distraction, the arising of forgetting your natural state, your natural condition of awareness, emptiness, that it's unceasing. If the mind never wandered, if there were no lapses into forgetting, if attention didn't funnel down into objects, awareness, emptiness would be the case all the time. The truth is that it actually is, but that because of ignorance, because of forgetting the dynamics of attention, that appears to not be the case. It is certain that the diversity of movements arising in the mind are not apprehendable by memories. They are like insubstantial breezes that move through the atmosphere. The nature of thoughts are that they're like wisps. You should look at your own mind to see whether it is like that or not. I think, therefore I am is the identification, conflation with self and thinking. The idea in this phrase is that by noticing the insubstantial nature of thought, you find that it's not possible to regard thought as being of substance. It is certain that whatever appearances occur, all of them are self-manifested, like the images in a mirror being self-manifestations that simply appear. You should look at your own mind to see whether it is like that or not. Notice how the field of vision is unproduced. You don't have to make it happen. The faculty of hearing is unproduced. You don't have to make it happen. The nature of thought, the arising of thought is unproduced. You don't need to make it happen. It's spontaneously manifesting. And all spontaneous manifestations are the nature. It is certain, I need to get a charger after these next two verses. It is certain that of all the diverse characteristics of things are liberated into their own condition. Like clouds in the atmosphere that are self-originated and self-liberated. You should look at your own mind to see whether it is like that or not. The idea here is that the arising of a thing confers its cessation. The fact that it is arising at all means it's passing. Arising and passing are actually two words for the same phenomena. As it's arising, it's passing. It's the presence of a thought is the passing of that thought. The arising of the thing is the passing of the thing. You can say that we define this as living, but you can also define it as dying. Where is the line? And is it just a designation? that life is life and that death is death. The bardo of the living actually is the bardo of the dying, and the bardo of the dying actually is the bardo of the living. It's the entry into another life, and this is the cessation of this life. You should look at your mind to see whether it is like that or not. Battery time. One moment, everybody. Don't die. There exists no phenomena other than what arises from the mind. Other than the meditation that occurs, where is the one who is meditating? There exists no phenomena other than what arises from the mind. Other than the behavior that occurs, where is the one who is behaving? There exists no phenomena other than what arises from the mind. Other than the vow, the samaya vow that occurs, where is the one who is guarding it? Those are your tantric commitments for Vajrayana practitioners. There exists no phenomena other than what arises from the mind. Other than the fruition that occurs, where is the one who is realizing the fruit? You should look at your mind, observing it again and again. When you look upward into the sky, into the space of the sky outside yourself, if there are no thoughts occurring that are emanations being projected, and when you look inward at your own mind inside yourself, if there exists no projectionist who projects thoughts by thinking them, then your own subtle mind will become lucidly clear without anything being projected. Since the clear light of your own intrinsic awareness is empty, it is the Dharmakaya. And this is like the sun rising in a cloudless, illuminated sky. Even though this light cannot be said to possess a particular shape or form, nevertheless, it can be fully known. Reality, the nature of your mind, cannot be found to possess any specific form. Yet this nature, this recognition is knowable. The meaning of this, whether or not it is understood, is especially significant. This self-originated clear light, from which the very beginning was in no way produced by something antecedent to it, is the child of awareness, and yet it is itself without any parents. Amazing. This self-originated primordial awareness has not been created by anything. Amazing. It has not experienced birth, nor does there exist a cause for its death. Amazing. Although it is evidently visible, yet there is no one who sees it. Amazing. Although it has wandered through samsara, it has come to no harm. Amazing. Although you have died countless times, reality has never been stained. This awareness, emptiness, that is the nature of things doesn't live or die. It doesn't arise or pass. Even though it exists in everyone, everywhere, yet it has gone unrecognized. Amazing. Nonetheless, you hope to attain some other fruit than this elsewhere. Amazing. Even though it exists within yourself and nowhere else, yet you seek for it elsewhere. Amazing. How wonderful. This immediate intrinsic awareness is insubstantial and lucidly clear. Just this is the highest pinnacle of all views. It is all encompassing, free of everything, and without any conceptions whatsoever. Just this is the highest pinnacle among all meditations. It is unfabricated and inexpressible in worldly terms. Just this is the highest pinnacle among all courses of conduct. Without being sought after, it is spontaneously self-perfected from the very beginning. Just this is the highest pinnacle among all fruits. And these are the final two sections with our few minutes left, or at least the final two sections that we'll read today. Here is the teaching of the four great vehicles that are without error. First, there is the great vehicle of the unmistaken view. Since this immediate awareness is lucidly clear, and this lucid clarity is without error or mistake, it is called a vehicle. Second, there is the great vehicle of the unmistaken meditation. Since this immediate awareness is that which possesses clarity, and this lucid clarity is without error or mistake, it is called a vehicle. Third, there is the great vehicle of the unmistaken conduct. Since this immediate primal awareness is that which possesses clarity, and this lucid clarity is without error or mistake, it is called a vehicle. Fourth, there is the great vehicle of the unmistaken fruit. Since this immediate awareness is lucidly clear, and this lucid clarity is without error or mistake, it is called a vehicle. Here is the teaching on the four great unchanging essential points called nails. First, there is the great nail of the unchanging view. This immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. Because it is stable in the three times, it is called a nail. Second, there is the great nail of the unchanging meditation. This immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. Because it is stable in the three times, it is called a nail. Third, there's the great nail of the unchanging conduct. This immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. Because it is stable in the three times, it is called a nail. Fourth, there is the great nail of the unchanging fruit. This immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. Because it is stable in the three times, it is called a nail. View, meditation, conduct, fruit. The view is that your immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. The meditation is that your immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. The conduct is that your immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. The fruit is that your immediate present awareness is lucidly clear. And we're done for today.